when was the last time I actually felt like I was like relaxed or like I could literally just like take a moment to make a decision rather than just responding in rampant like fight or flight mode, all the time.
Welcome back to the Know Your Moments. I'm your host, Joy Chick. And if you're new here, please subscribe and follow us. Season 1 was really about the stories that has shaped my career. My decision to finally leave Microsoft after 20 years. And now embark on this completely new journey, a multi-hyphenate career. As I'm sharing the learnings of this new chapter with you, there's still a lot of questions that I'm trying to figure out. And one of them sounds surprisingly simple. What does it actually mean to recharge? For years, I thought I was pretty good at it. I worked out almost every day. I took vacations. It seems I checked all the boxes. But looking back, I don't think I really knew how to rest. So over this summer, I want to explore a few of these questions. Specifically, why it is so hard. Why most of what we call resting isn't actually rest. And what a real recharge looks like. And there's no better place to start than with Trevor Opalewski. Trevor has been my trainer since 2021. And he has seen me through some of the busiest time of my career at Microsoft. And through my transition out and into whatever this next new chapter is becoming. And ironically, the person whose job is helping me perform at my best is also the person who spent years reminding me to slow down. So I think you'll enjoy this conversation. First, I want to introduce Trevor, who is my personal trainer. He gets to see me bright and early, first in the morning, the cheeriest joy every day. So Trevor, you and I, best version. Trevor, you and I talk a lot about, of course, rest and recharging in the context of, physical fitness per se. Because you actually, frankly, I would say you often ask me every morning, how do you feel? But as I look back, frankly, I would say I didn't really understood what real recharge really meant over the years. So, Trevor, with now full self-confession, how would you describe the joy before sabbatical?
Man, joy before the sabbatical. To wrap it up in a short sense, I'd say a soul just coasting through, just pushing through, which I think is a strong suit and can also be, it's like a double-edged sword, There was some intention there, but when it came to like finer details or even just like remembering certain exercises that we've gone through thousands of times before, it was kind of like there was like a lapse there, So it just really showed me that like how much you were really taking on, how much you were handling on a day-to-day perspective that just like, you're like so focused on A, B, C, and D, and the F that like all the other ones weren't that important, So it was like reprocessing in order of importance. So yeah, there was just a lot of intention that was kind of like just not present.
Not present, yeah. And that's definitely, I felt like, since about the last 6 months, wow, I was so not present, before. Why it is so hard to unplug?
It's the hardest thing ever.
But can you say why? Yeah.
I think of it, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of variables to that, right? Like, I think like we're kind of preconditioned to like always just be connected now at this day and age, right? Yeah. But like, I don't think many of us have even like broke off and like asked ourselves like, when was the last time I actually felt like I was like relaxed or like I could literally just like take a moment to make a decision rather than just responding in rampant like fight or flight mode, all the time. I'll say even for me personally, like it's just kind of reminding myself like, hey, once I get done with something, I don't need to jump right into the next thing. Like, let me just take a moment.
Yeah. And, actually, that reminds me when I finally made that leap or the jump to take sabbatical last December, I first thought, oh, now I'm in sabbatical, I can fully relax, right? Or like feeling relaxed.
I laugh because I actually remember that.
Right. So I did talk about it in my very almost first episode of the Knowing Moments. It literally felt disorienting. I managed to say, I intentionally, I moved my email app to the fourth page on my phone, and I turned off notification, and yet I find myself swiping like 4 pages and I keep manually refreshing nonstop. Not like I ever take drugs, but it literally feels like these drugs withdrawal. It's a bit of a unreal, unsettling, and yet, it just something just remind me when we're so conditioned. I think to your point about on the go, move, and just think about what's next, especially then you suddenly get to a full stop. It almost like you have to relearn the skill to how to be more present, or even how to actually just slow down, right? It did kind of make me wonder, right? Like, as I think about my before sabbatical, when I crash on the weekends and I use binge watch like Netflix, there are different layers or dimensions in terms of rest and recharge.
Many.
First, there's definitely the physical part of it, whether it's through exercise, forcing me to mentally to at least try to be more present.
Yeah.
To be away from the phone for that hour with you. But one thing I find in the last 6 months is a proper or good rest recharge actually give more creativity or more inspiration. So, I felt that's maybe the one element maybe we miss quite a bit is how we underestimate the power of a real rest or recharge actually create the room for a new idea, right? Like, I kind of noticed personally, if I spend just the entire week trying to get things done, what I so-called being productive, actually becomes less creative, especially now being the creator, the writer for the podcast. Sometimes I just get that sort of mental block.
It's a lot of output.
Yeah, you can. And so, Trevor, what's a good recharge look like to you personally?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to have a different answer for that, right? It's like I do something that's recharging for me, but then it's not recharging for you. It's not recharging for a friend, so everyone's version of that is going to be somewhat different in a sense, right? But the key to that is like actually exploring what that could be, not just going to these methods that are like preached about all over social media.
Right.
Do a cold plunge, gotta do all this, because it's like, okay, that sounds great, but if I'm already super stressed out and I can't control my breath through that, what's the point? I'm just adding more stress.
Yeah.
So it really differs, and I hate to just be like so bleak about it, but like there's not like a defined answer. It's really one that like varies from person to person. For me personally, it's really just about like keeping the habit of slowing down and pausing in between my certain things, all the events during the day, right? I might have one day where it's like 15 different things, one after another, which I'm sure you can,
Right. 100%.
Can I take 4 minutes in between one of those things and just be present? Just feel my shoulders drop a little bit, check my breath, is my heart rate a little accelerated? And, can I get it a little bit more into like the rest and recovery mode? So maybe I'll take like a little deeper exhales coming through rather than the quick inhales that I'm like unconscious about.
Yeah.
So a little small practice I always like to do is just take like 2 to 3 seconds to inhale.
Yeah.
2 to 3 seconds to hold. And then double that on the exhale. And then I'll repeat that for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Just until I could kind of just feel everything kind of like flush out. That's what it feels for me.
Sometimes I feel like as we get sort of stressed mentally, like physically, we're starting to kind of...
Yeah, you'll notice like the chest is tight and the shoulders, and you're like...
And as we relax, it actually helps you just even mentally feels like, okay, now I'm a little bit back-centered for what it's worth. I think what you reminded me, it's very much like the practice for mindfulness. So it very much reminds me, it's like, hey, rest and the recharge. It's not about these sort of after work activity. Is how do you incorporate that into the daily routine, basically. So now as I look at my new rhythm, right? So still doing the morning workout, I still find that, that start my day, right? And, sort of the physical fitness, it's not only from sort of the physical health. I do think it feels like centers me the rest of the day. When I used to work with myself, I felt I'm always oversubscribed. But in some ways, there's a stamped out, almost a template to manipulate.
Right.
One of the questions that I often got being asked lately is people really felt like, oh no, you left, you're leaving Microsoft. So what are you doing with all these free time? People think, I've been probably spending every day, drinking coffee at a cafe, just take my time. They think I'm reading books, maybe on the beach even, or just taking long walks with the dogs. Frankly, I wish I'm so relaxed and laid back. It turns out, frankly, I would say I'm just so used to be oversubscribed all the time. So when there are times things actually slow down, I actually felt completely unsettled, to be honest. And so I would actually call myself still in this recalibrating phase right now.
Right.
And then you jam more things into it. But these days, there are times I'm way oversubscribed. There's also times, so there's a bit of a roller coaster up and downs, right? So in some ways, there's no pattern matching. So the one thing I find that was interesting, even though there are times I'm super busy, I'm actually, finding I have self more energy than before. Not like I'm actually rested from the pure sense of how many hours I sleep. I feel maybe I'm more creative or have, more stimulated from the, sort of a mindset perspective. I feel more in control in some ways. At least that's what I feel. So Trevor, now, 6 months in, how would you describe the joy in this new era of reinvention? Be very honest. What's good? What's bad? What's still work in progress?
Yeah. Awesome. Wonderful question. So the progress that's been made, right, is you're definitely more intentional. There's way less lapses in like recalling of exercises and movements and stuff like that, right? So just leads me to speak that like, okay, she's getting more in tune to like herself again, or she's not like grasping at all these different things as much from before. So I think the other work in progress too is like, what's the next stage of that, right? What does that look like for you? I don't know. It's not my work.
It's interesting. I think I remember one of the days morning, you actually said you're still busy, but you're more free.
Yeah.
And I think I do feel that way. But then the second point of what's next, I also kind of chuckle as you said. I said, it is so intrinsic to each of us. So like your version of what's next is different from what my version. And so it's, like whoever here listening, I think each of us have our unique in terms of what works for us. So be able to find our inner, like whether Zen or what actually fills our cup, like you said, I think it's our own exploration and we're trying to figure out what that really looks like. So you may be physically tired, but if you feel like renewed, you're creative again, I think that's a form of recharge.
I'd say so.
You may not be fully recharged. Right?
Yeah, but you're in the process.
In the process of that. So to me, exactly what you said earlier, like my reflection is one is how do you take a microdose? It's not this big thing. Oh, I'm resting.
Yeah.
Or I'm working or, to me, it's like, how do you take a microdose and incorporate as part of our daily work or daily life? And also, how do we get a sense of rest and a recharge is not just physical or even mental, but also just to get that new sense of, wow, I'm renewed, I'm energized, I'm creative again, versus you are in that perpetual sort of, oh, I'm exhausted, right? Like no amount of vacation is going to recover me. Trevor, before we close it out, what is the one thing that you are focusing on now these days from the recharge perspective?
Yeah, it's been my own little reflection here the last few months, even the last year, to be honest. But the biggest thing is like refilling my cup up so I can then again pour more into others. And so that started with just how I started my day. Honestly, instead of like checking my phone for notifications, did somebody message me, did an email come through, it's just like first 30 minutes of the day, like doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like if I miss something, I miss something, but like I know I don't have anything scheduled in the first hour and a half that I wake up. So that's going to go to me.
Yeah.
So it's like being awake for a few minutes and just talking myself or writing a few ideas down for the day, going outside, getting some sunlight, as the sun's coming up, just like feeling everything. And like, even just to the point of like, just listening to things happening around me,
Right.
not putting like a specific name to it. Like, oh, that's a crow crowing. It's just like, just listening to it and just like really just being present.
Right.
Or I move on to my first thing. That's really my biggest.
Yeah, like you really remind me, as I'm recalibrating myself, it's just as simple as how to get ourselves to be more present yourself is a form, right, of a recharge or rest. I mean, it's not that's it, but it's maybe even the essence of sometimes why you feel so hard. If you can be more present, no amount of vacation
Matter.
or Netflix binge watching is going to, make you more present.
And it's really the simple thing,
It's a simple thing. And then you also talk about the microdosing, slow out, rather than sort of do this or that. Right?
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you so much for being the first guest on the
My thanks to you.
And I hope, for all of you listening, feels this why rest can feel so hard and, how to rethink about rest, not just, really in the form of has to be a trip or has to be an actual vacation. But really, I would describe is a proper rest or recharge, what actually leaves you to feel, right? You're not just about being entertained or you're like not just saying, okay, I'm just simply away from work. And frankly, as Trevor and I said, just be more present and just genuinely feel renewed so that, we can feel being more creative again. Because I think at the end of the day, I don't think these are the same thing. And almost you have to start to be present before you can do all the other things.
Totally agree.
And I think, I think you also talked a ton about how be present. So we take care of ourselves when we can take care of any of the rest. So
true.
Thank you so much and I appreciate you. And as I reflected on my conversation with Trevor, I realized this wasn't really about fitness or recharge. It was about how we live. And I found myself walking away with a few things that I want to practice this summer. First, stop waiting for the perfect time to rest. Maybe it's taking 5 quiet minutes between the meetings. Maybe it's leaving your phone behind when you go for a walk. And maybe it's simply taking one deep breath before rushing into the next thing. Those small moments count. Second, don't assume a vacation will fix exhaustion. Changing your location doesn't automatically change your state of mind. And if we are constantly distracted at home, we'll probably be distracted on the beach as well. Real rest starts before the vacation. Third, build recovery into your everyday life. Performance isn't just about pushing harder. It's also about knowing when to stop and recover. Whether you are training for a race, leading a team, or raising a family, recovery is just part of the performance. And fourth, pay attention to what actually recharges you. For me, it's often my morning workout, and sometimes it is a conversation with a close friend. Sometimes it's sitting outside with a cup of coffee before opening my laptop? And the answer is different for everyone. The important thing is knowing yours. And finally, remember that presence may be the greatest form of rest. And we're fully present. We are no longer replaying yesterday or worrying about tomorrow. And we're simply here. And that's maybe where the real rest begins. I'll leave you with one question. What is one small thing you could do this week? Not next month, not on your next vacation, but this week, that would help you feel just a little bit more rested. And when you know, you know. This is the Knowing Moments. And if this episode resonates with you, please subscribe, rate, and review the Knowing Moments wherever you get your podcasts. And sign up for updates at theknowingmoments.com/email. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.